Alright, we're settling something right now. This is our first Castlevania review, and as the Metroid guy, I'm sure the term Metroidvania is on your mind. Well, obviously, Castlevania is a Metroidvania. False! Castlevania 1, 2, 3, and 4 were all action platformers. It wasn't until PlayStation's Symphony of the Night in 1997 that Metroid's actual exploration search action gameplay got implemented into the series. Technically, Castlevania was its own thing until it essentially became a Metroid-like. But the game's programmer, Koji Igarashi, claims that Zelda was the inspiration for Symphony of the Night's change in gameplay style. And due to how blatantly Metroid the game is, and clearly nothing at all like Zelda, he's either wildly misinformed or lying to protect his ego. So what's your point? Castlevania gets genre credit for licking the spoon after Metroid baked the cookies. I want to lick the spoon. So do I! Super Castlevania 4 is actually the 8th Castlevania. We are so not going there. Okay, well, it's actually pretty simple, considering this game is essentially a full recreation of the original NES Castlevania, but juiced up on the Super Nintendo. It's also the perfect spooky retro title for a Halloween special. Was that darkening? I've been meaning to properly get into Castlevania for some time now, but it wasn't until 2020 that I finally buckled down and bit the silver bullet and beat Super. Imagine a burly barbarian infiltrating a generic Universal Studios haunted castle armed with nothing but a whip and 10 gallons of testosterone. Sounds like a sex dungeon. No, it's not a sex dungeon! Full of bats, ghosts, and skeletons! and mermen! Huh? And mer-skeletons! Wait, what even is a mer skeleton? Okay, I kinda made that one up, but there's still mermen! Yeah, not nearly as scary as— We're all hiding bona fide mer skeletons under their mer flesh! Have you played Castlevania for the NES? Well, now it's on the SNES, and therefore, by obligation, has the word Super in the title. Super Castlevania finally allows Simon some decent controls while you battle your way through Dracula's castle. You can control your jumps in mid-air and whip in 8 directions, lasso and swing across ledges, and even dangle the whip around by holding down the button, which looks silly, but it's actually a really helpful strategy for defeating enemies in certain situations. Though the scariest thing in the entire game is, once again, the stairs. Yeah, the Belmonts are to stairs what Gordon Freeman is to ladders. If you're not holding up or down on the stairs when you approach them, you'll just phase through reality and fall right straight through them. You can't even jump on or off the stairs. And yes, you'll have to do lots of climbing on stairs while dodging and defeating enemies. Thankfully though, this game is a lot more manageable than the past entries, with enemies generally dealing less damage, and with Simon's sharper control alongside his arsenal of sub-weapons he collects along the way. Sub-weapons like the Cross and Holy Water can be found and used at the cost of some of the hearts you find on your quest. You probably wondered why all the hearts you were finding weren't healing you. Yeah, that's because they're your weapon ammunition. What else could they be? And the sub-weapon is finally mapped to a button on the controller, allowing for even better control as well. Simon will have to clear stages 1, 2, 3, 4. We can count. Oh yeah? What comes after stage 9? Well, 10. A. What? And what comes after stage A? B, stupid. What? Is there a stage C? Nope, that's the end of the game. What? Learn to count, dimwit. So basically a bunch of Universal monsters got invited to Dracula's Monster Mash and a large hairy man came to crash the party. This is the part where I would talk some sense into him, but he's not wrong. You've got Frankenstein's monster, the Mummy, the creature from the Black Lagoon, dancing Phantom of the Opera ghosts, and obviously Dracula himself. Imagine rolling around a party city in October covered in glue. That's what Castlevania looks like. It's like Spirit Halloween's generic McSpooky Town, except without all the painfully unfunny adult costumes and cheap accessories. The game actually does look really cool. It's got some awesome sprite art and animations to go alongside those shameless ripoffs. Yeah, remember that 3D spinning room? And the swinging chandeliers, the animating, parallaxing backgrounds? There's some really cool effects that the Super Nintendo is pulling off here. It's the coolest looking conglomerate of discount fair use Halloween paraphernalia I've ever— It's not fair use. What? Yes, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is fair use, but not Boris Karloff's Frankenstein owned by Universal, which is the one you know and recognize. They also own the Mummy, And of course your boy Dracula. Does Castlevania even have the rights to Castlevania? What does it matter? Konami doesn't make video games anymore. And Universal doesn't make monster movies anymore. We are living in the worst timeline. Bah, something about every 100 years or so, evil shows up out of nowhere and needs the local Belmont to swat it upside the head with a rolled up newspaper. It's basically a remake of the NES game anyway, so who cares? That is if you're playing the Japanese version. What? In North America, it's a sequel to Simon's Quest. 2, yep. 4 is a sequel to 2. And 3? That comes before 1. Just like Metal Gear Solid? Also made by Konami. Anyway, Simon kills Dracula at the end. Eat dirt, count, see you in 100 years. Have you heard this thing here? It makes the best sound you've ever heard in your whole life. Why? It got the oomph. It's got the pizzazz. It got the generic McSpooky Town. Come on, the soundtrack sounds amazing, and the SNES gives it that extra punch. I know, I just wanted you to break that awful character. Choices! There were dozens of action platformers at the time, both in the arcades and on home console. But something about Castlevania made it stick out from the crowd both in character as well as its superior yet still challenging gameplay that is still packed with secrets. This game got censored in some pretty silly ways in hindsight, like removing some of the blood, clothing the freaking background statues, and removing all references to crosses and any other religious iconography, further cementing Castlevania as generic McSpooky Town. What really sells the game are all the unique stages, enemies, and bosses as you dive deeper into Dracula's castle. They're all so cool and different and keep shifting your expectations on what you'll encounter next. Except Slagra. I hate Slagra. That bird skeleton with a stick. Slagra is the first of a 4-boss final wave ending with Dracula himself. But I swear Slagra is the hardest of the bunch, and Dracula himself is even harder than— obligatory penis joke— is harder than the wing, than schlong. This is a professional show. Then nuts! Specifically walnuts. I mean, have you ever tried cracking one of those things without the proper tools? It sucks! Damn, those nuts are so hard! Well, the positive gamer in me isn't afraid to give Super Castlevania 4 a frightening 8 out of 10. This is probably my favorite of the action platformer Castlevania series for its incredible gameplay, sprite art, music, and huge cast of creatures like the floating horse heads, ghost dancers, and murder skeletons! The critical gamer in me was shocked to find Super Castlevania 4 to be a worthy 7 out of 10. It's certainly a challenging ride, but still holds up surprisingly well by modern standards, alongside incredible artwork and music that help give the game its best asset, a powerful atmosphere. Now, come on, Bomb, get a hold of yourself.
Well, what do you think? Tell us how your positive and critical sides rate Super Castlevania 4 in the comments below. Skeleton, away!
But if you think this game has absolutely anything to do with Metroid, then you're just playing with yourself. Hey Hamster, remember that one time we reviewed 5 Pokemon games at once? Oh yeah, that title was longer than the intro to Skyward Sword. Wanna do it again? No! It's a Patreon request! Come on, they love Pokemon! It's so much work! And it's efficient! You love efficient! So efficient! Succumb to its allure! I remember back in the land before time, we used to call Pokemon Generation 2, Pokemon 2. We didn't have any internet in order to talk or learn about the new games like we do today. Internet? You mean that place with all the creepy Rule 34 art when you just try to Google a Pokemon's name? Poor Gardevoir. DeviantArt wanted you to have legs so badly Game Freak eventually made it canon. They made porn canon! The only way we could share new information was at school or at the playground. You mean where all those pedophiles hang out taking pictures of kids? Sometimes the first time you'd even see a new Pokemon would be in a movie or in the trading card game. Oh, you mean that empty aisle at Target that scalpers throw elbows to clean out like it's Black Friday in order to exploit collectors and children around the world? I hate people. Since this is another quintuple episode, I'll be focusing on the original 2000 Game Boy Color games, Gold, Silver, and Crystal, which leaves me with the 2009 DS remakes, Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Back in 2000, we didn't ask for Pokemon innovations nearly as much as we simply wanted more Pokemon. And with 100 new monsters to collect on top of the original 150 in brand new region to explore, Gen 2 hit all the right buttons. Luckily, the remakes capitalized on this nostalgia, making only the original 251 Pokemon appear until the postgame. One huge new feature was implementing an internal clock so that you could find different Pokemon in various places based on the real-life time of day. This was incredibly cool for adding an extra bit of immersion and replay value incentive where you could share your own personal discoveries with your friends. And by the time the remakes rolled around, we had access to Cerebi, an incredibly helpful online database that forever transformed Pokemon and all of its features into an obsessive math game. The third version of the game, Crystal, was a definitive update to Gold and Silver, adding new animated sprites, the choice of being a girl for the first time, and with an all-new in-depth story involving the legendary Suicune. And for the record, Heart Gold and Soul Silver were primarily based on Crystal, however opting to retain the original version exclusives while still holding on to Crystal's updates, so assume that any other added innovations were also featured here as well. One of those innovations was the new Pokegear, allowing you to listen into in-game radio stations, call various characters, and even rematch trainers, because cell phones were so hip and funky fresh at the turn of the millennia, you feel me, my dudes? Speaking of outdated tech, Heart Gold Soul Silver came bundled with the Pokewalker, a glorified Tamagotchi device allowing you to walk with your transferred Pokemon in the real world with a step counter, gathering XP, uncovering items, and even challenging and capturing new Pokemon to send back to your game. I admittedly really love this idea. Gen 2 also brought us the Bug Catching Contest, a creative event based on catching powerful wild Pokemon for prizes that we sorely need more of the like in modern Pokemon, expanding on the game's core mechanics. We also got special Pokeballs crafted from collecting apricorns, all with various effects and designs. Although due to some shoddy programming, some of these Kurt Balls either had the wrong effects or straight up didn't work. But the remakes obviously fixed that, and went on to add fan favorites like the Safari Zone, in addition to allowing post-game players to access nearly all modern Pokemon at the time, including several legendaries not even native to the region. For the first time ever, you could breed and hatch Pokemon eggs, use move tutors, chase down legendary roaming Pokemon, give Pokemon items to hold, and of course encounter the incredibly rare alternately colored shiny Pokemon. And possibly the most popular update in the remakes is in allowing the first Pokemon in your party to follow behind you in the overworld. Every single alternate form, gender difference, and yes, even shiny sprite from all 4 directions are allowing you to interact and journey with your teammates on a whole new and incredibly endearing level. You want huge, exciting features? How about after beating the Elite Four, you travel east of your hometown and discover that Gen 1's entire map of Kanto was connected to Johto the entire time, where you can challenge and collect 8 more badges, re-challenge a stronger Elite Four, and a secret final boss, the protagonist of the first game, Trainer Red, with his fittingly OP team. And to make things even more epic, defeating Red actually gives you end credits, alongside beating the Elite Four both times, making for 3 endings. And I don't personally consider a Gen 2 Pokemon game complete until you've dethroned Red's level 80+ team atop Mount Silver. And get this, people in this world invented a fully functioning time machine and are so dedicated to Pokemon that it never occurs to them to use it for anything other than trading and battling with themselves in the past. I'm not even joking. That's their reason for Gen 1 multiplayer compatibility. Well, since the remakes were released after Gen 4, they inherited all modern gameplay features and updates like the physical special split, quality of life features, as well as Wi-Fi connectivity that got shut down in 2014. However, don't forget that local wireless still works. You gonna mention that weird Pokemon Olympics thing? Yeah, so the Pokathlon is a series of touch-based mini-games you can play with your Pokemon to compete for some pretty valuable prizes like TMs and elemental stones of choice. The games themselves are just meh, but we gotta justify those overworld sprites and the new touchscreen, don't we, Nintendo? Before we move on, I gotta talk about your mom. Don't you bring my mother into this! In-game mom! At the beginning of the game, she asks you if you'd like her to help you manage your money. Oh god, this. And if you accept, a percentage of all money you earn will go to your mom like a bank you can access with no interest. Except she will occasionally spend some of your money on items that she thinks you need. Stop touching my money, Mom! You have a problem! Yeah, unless you like backtracking for the rest of your wallet and unnecessary family drama, this is a pointless deal. Shut up, Mom! I'm 10 years old! I can handle my own finances! Gosh! Gen 2 looks identical to the first games, except it's in color, and the remakes look like Gen 4 graphics. Except with all the slowdown and graphical hiccups. The color was what really made this game pop. You could easily see if it was day or night, as well as identify the new differently colored shiny Pokemon, like the red Gyarados you get to encounter at the Lake of Rage. But oh boy, do the remakes have some stellar sprite art. The Pokemon characters and animations are honestly my favorite in the entire series. Oh man, and that intro cinematic was so cool back then. There wasn't a single time I didn't watch it play out in full before booting up the game. I swear, I could probably spend hundreds of dollars making perler bead art from this game if I had the time or money. I need to immortalize my shiny collection. Also, this gen brought us Shuckle, and therefore it's the best one. I cannot argue with such irrefutable evidence. Well, obviously that's undeniable, as Shuckle is simply the greatest. Can we keep talking about Shuckle for the rest of this video? Don't push your luckle. Go shuck yourself. So this time, come on, don't even. Team Rocket's back and— No, that's not a story. Okay, so they're just trying to contact Giovanni and kind of fail to even revitalize the group, but yeah, that goes nowhere. Well, you, awaken a legendary bird, which makes perfect sense in Gold when Ho-Oh descends on the nearby tower, but in Silver, someone has to run out and claim that they saw something strange miles away in the distance, deep underwater in a cave blocked by a raging whirlpool. Yeah. Nothing really comes of your rival. Nothing really comes from exploring Kanto. Nothing really comes of collecting all the badges. Or Pokemon, for that matter. Come on, there's never a good story in Pokemon. That's not the fault of the franchise, but its creative team. A good story can be told in any game, but that requires effort. And Game Freak chose otherwise. It's funny how people expect monumental storytelling in JRPGs, unless they're playing Pokemon, then all of a sudden expect and accept amateur hour. Even 1,000 monkeys smacking typewriters indefinitely will eventually compose Shakespeare. So I'm still patiently waiting on the monkeys at Game Freak to accidentally do the same. Music is absolutely vital in a game that you plan on playing for a long time, and especially one where you explore various locales throughout your journey. Well, oh boy, does this soundtrack absolutely knock it out of the park! Even on Game Boy. And those new remixes are all so wonderfully arranged. You can even switch back to the original retro soundtrack after acquiring a late game item. Every single city, route, and battle is so well crafted to set the feeling of your environment without getting on your nerves with memorable melodies. I just love it. I think I have more music saved on my computer from these games than all other Pokemon generations combined. Music is something that builds a tremendous amount of character in games. And what this game lacks in story, the atmosphere and music overwhelm it with life-giving character. And it direly lacks. We know! If you're into Pokemon, then I can't recommend Generation 2 enough. Pokemon doesn't get any better than this. Or at least I'm still waiting for that to change. I keep a detailed video game resume, logging my achievements and estimated playtimes for every game I've ever played. And these 5 together account for a tremendous amount of that time, with Heart Gold holding the record for the most amount of hours I've ever spent in a single game with an obscene 2,215 hours. That's more time than you spent in high school and college combined. Well, that's just one game. I also have my resume calculate all my playtimes from each console together and convert it into total hours, days, and even years, which just broke 2, by the way. 2 years? Non-stop? No food, no sleep, no breaks whatsoever? That's far more time than I've spent in school from kindergarten all the way up through graduate school. How's that for an education? And the #1 game on that list? Yes, Heart Gold. Shiny hunting alongside those many playthroughs adds up fast, and I'm still looking for new ways to play this game again. What about a Pokewalker only challenge? Don't tempt me! Or maybe you could just curb your appetite by rewatching our entire 115 episode Heart Gold series, where we exploit the ability Cute Charm's poor 4th gen programming into altering the shiny Pokemon rate up to a whopping 20% and complete a massive challenge of hunting and collecting all available Pokemon across the game as shinies before progressing with each area. Irredeemably palpable yet obligatory shameless plug! The positive gamer in me gives the retro Pokemon Gold, Silver, and Crystal an 8 out of 10. These classics are still a great time to revisit for tickling the nostalgia on either Virtual Console or traditional Game Boy and cartridge. That is if your battery still works, which mine don't. The critical gamer in me has to give Pokemon Gold, Silver, and Crystal an honest 6 out of 10. These impressive Game Boy Color releases were amazing at the time, but haven't aged particularly well. But the positive gamer in me was smitten enough with Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver to give them the precious 10 out of 10. These remakes faithfully captured the best of the Game Boy's Gen 2, and spruced it up with the finest sprite art, music, and gameplay features the series has ever been blessed with to date. And the critical gamer in me finds the DS remakes Heart Gold and Soul Silver to both deserve an incredible 9 out of 10. I nearly caved with this score, but held back that perfect 10 solely for the lack of any real effort in the story department to hold up the remainder of these titles, which, admittedly, have a heart of gold. But what do you think? And what do you think is the best Pokemon game? And tell us how your positive and critical sides rate Pokemon Gold, Silver, Crystal, Heart Gold, and Soul Silver in the comments below. The best Pokemon game is the one that lets you feel like a kid again, openly playing with reckless abandon. It's whatever can connect you to that carefree world the most. And for me, it's this game. But if you won't even allow yourself the chance to let go of the stress of your daily life and just play, then you're only playing with yourself. Knock, knock. Hey, Hamster, have you seen my keys? No. I could swear I left them in this room. Maybe they were in the dark hamster cage. The what? Oh, you know, the dark version of your office. Let me just poke my nose over there and see. Oh, God! What did you do? I just told you I'm looking for my keys in the dark. My skin is melting! Oh, right, that. Well, you see, in this dimension, the physics that bond your atoms together will react violently when exposed to the atmosphere and why doesn't this affect you? Ah, right. Well, you see, I'm wearing a light shirt, which protects me from dimensional distortions, whereas you're wearing a dark shirt, which... It doesn't even make any sense, just make it stop! My lunch is having a battle with my stomach and the home team's losing! Could you just check again for my keys? I already... What? Why are they here now? Oh, nice! Well, you see, sometimes things are different in the light world versus the dark. Just turn it back! You got it! Oh, right, the keys were invisible in the light world. I guess I'll just have to flip back over for my errands and... No! Metroid Prime 2. This is one of those sequels where the target audience is specifically those fans who have mastered the original and are eager for a bigger and more challenging gameplay experience in the style of the Japanese Super Mario Bros. 2. Challenge is an understatement. Because of this game's design choices, I kept falling out of my early playthroughs. Eventually, I did suck it up and beat it, of course, and even did a brutal randomized livestream playthrough, which you should totally go watch if you enjoy watching my suffering shameless plug. This game is just like Metroid Prime, but with jumper cables clamped to your nipples. Samus would never do that to my nipples. She owns your nipples now. I'll have you know, Samus and my nipples have a very good relationship. Stop saying nipples. You're gonna summon horny Beetlejuice or something. Metroid Prime, but... yeah, that's a big sweaty butt. But with far more challenging mechanics, enemies, and map designs. Let's start with the beams. You have your traditional power beam from before alongside your growing arsenal of missiles. However, your 3 new beams all consume ammo. Beam ammunition? Aside from that making zero practical sense, it begins to subvert the inherent concept of beams in Metroid in the first place. It just becomes yet another resource to manage in order to defeat certain enemies and even open doors. Agreed, it's more of a hassle than a fun upgrade, especially when you need to hunt down beam expansions as well to get the most out of each new beam. There's the dark beam and the light beams firing their respective ammo, and the annihilator beam consuming 1 of each type to fire. Charging your shot results in consuming 5 ammo at a time, And you can once again find charge missile upgrades for each beam type. To prevent players from getting soft-locked, you can still fire these beams even without ammo. However, you'll need to fully charge up each shot for a normal blast. You'll need those beams to open various locks, doors, and portals in and out of the Dark World. And here's where the game really starts getting mean. The entire planet of Ether has a light and a dark map overlaid on top of one another, which are similar to each other in structure and navigation, but have unique enemies, puzzles, and most importantly, atmospheres. Light Ether is in our dimension, but Dark Ether has an unstable and dangerous atmosphere that rapidly drains your health, unless you take cover within one of the intermittently placed light beacons that reverse this draining effect, slowly regaining your health. I hate this! Yes, you can find the dark suit and the light suit to alleviate and even outright nullify this damage respectively, but it doesn't justify just how unfun this mechanic is, forcing you to occasionally wait for minutes on end at these rest spots to slowly regain your health before bosses in long stretches. I appreciate that they wanted Dark Ether to be scary, but it's scary for all the wrong reasons, especially with the numerous boss fights that don't have any light beacons at all. The fact that they even needed healing zones in the Dark World is pretty telling of how poor a mechanic it was in the first place. Which brings me to the map. Last time I applauded the 3D multi-layer map, but this time the magic is totally lost. Each area feels so samey and all weirdly link up to each other in easily forgettable ways that I end up spending a tremendous amount of this game just going in circles. On top of the fact that there's a Dark World iteration of every environment, that certainly didn't help. And as for new upgrades, you have the multi-targeting Seeker missile launcher. God, that finicky situational waste of missiles only works when it feels like it. Then there's the Echo Visor. Speaking of dumb situational finicky upgrades, the Dark Visor, forcing you to backtrack across the entirety of Ether to random nondescript locations for this game's equivalent of Prime 1's Artifact Hunt, aka the only unfun part about the first game dedicated to an entire upgrade! Instead of the gravity suit, we have the gravity boost, which acts like an underwater jetpack. Okay, I get they didn't want us to have the same suits as last time, but awkwardly giving us a gravity suit power-up, even more awkwardly inheriting its naming convention for absolutely no reason, just makes this upgrade feel a little underwhelming. But check this out. They added the Screw Attack as an awful third-person 5 jump sequence in a straight line, gaining no altitude. So instead we got annoying wall jump hurdles to impede our progress? It sounds like you didn't like this game. No, it's really cool. I just kinda hate it. I'd say the bosses are really cool, but they all seem to be some of the hardest and most unfair fights in the entire series. Now come on, they weren't all that bad. Emperor Ing and Spider Guardian are more of a test of patience rather than skill. And even Retro Studios developer Brian Walker admitted he couldn't beat the Boost Guardian without using debug mode. Yeesh. Well, the enemies still are really creative. I like the res bit that can literally attack your vision, forcing Samus to hard reset her visors to regain sight. I mean, come on, that's cool. It is really cool. I just kinda hate it. That about sums up the entire game. This game looks identical to Prime 1, which is great because Prime 1 is the best the GameCube could even offer. However, the map design and environmental theming aren't nearly as stellar.
Ooh, I get it. Space references.
Cool your jets, Voyager. Space! You're a lunatic. Derived from the Latin word luna meaning moon and more historically recent English words like fanatic meaning crazy to identify people supposedly driven to epilepsy and madness by the light of the moon because they were crazy about space! Houston, you have a problem. Samus is contracted to planet Ether to investigate the sudden loss of contact with the Galactic Federation Squadron. Yeah, they're all dead. Well, at least we can finally uncover some logs and lore entries for Galactic Federation troops. Yay! Anyway, her investigation reveals the shadowy Ing creatures that immediately steal her gear, of course, and the new Dark Samus, formed from the Metroid Prime's puddling Phazon remains. Oh, excellent. And the slaughtered Luminoth tribe, whose struggling survivors enlist Samus in recovering the lost light of Ether to stop the Ing's invasion of the planet torn between dimensions. Though the stage and cast are different, this is very much the same story as Prime 1, which was all about learning from logs and context clues to piece together a greater narrative. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Where was that mentality in the gameplay? What? Nothing. The soundtrack is just as amazing as last time. Though I would argue this one's battle themes are far better and more memorable than any of its environmental tracks. Emperor Ing makes it feel like I'm fighting Godzilla! And Dark Samus's theme is equally incredible. But for some reason, contrary to logic, was omitted from Smash Ultimate when the character finally became playable. Inexcusable! That's like getting Banjo-Kazooie without Click Cluck Wood, or Sora without Simple and Clean. Did you play this game? Because if you did, I probably don't need to convince you that the sequel is also worth playing. But if you haven't played Prime 1, I would actively discourage you from playing Prime 2. Its difficulty and quirky mechanics were designed for advanced players familiar with the original. Unless you just like jumper cables clamped to your nipples. Stop saying nipple juice, nipple juice! You are not summoning nipple juice! Oh, duh. The positive gamer in me gives Metroid Prime 2 Echoes a dark 6 out of 10. Yes, it's modeled after one of the greatest games ever made, but its quirks and faults are just quirky and faulty enough to dampen my enjoyment significantly. All things considered, it's still pretty good. The critical gamer in me sees the light in Metroid Prime 2 Echoes with a brighter 8 out of 10. The actual design here isn't inherently poor. If anything, it's actually very well done. But what I think holds the game back from reaching the heights of its predecessor are its frustrations that come alongside its avant-garde alterations in technique. But what do you think? Tell us how your positive and critical sides rate Metroid Prime 2 Echoes in the comments below. He might not think it's very fun, but if your critical side can't appreciate when a game is better than you personally give it credit, then you're just playing with yourself. Finally, after a marathon of requests, we get to choose what games to review again. Ooh, I've got an idea. This always ends well. Considering the final 2 requests were both sequels, let's run with it and make the entire season of reviews of sequels. But there's so many other games I've been itching to— So it sounds like you're not up to the challenge. If it's not a 2, we can't review it until this season is over. And first up, I say we cover Monster Hunter Freedom Unite. There isn't a 2 in the title. It's a 2. I mean, not really. It's more of a— It's the second Monster Hunter. Technically, that's— Shut up, it's sequel season. Let me have my thing. I remember way back in high school, a friend of mine was desperately trying to get me into Monster Hunter with him. Aside from my total disinterest to the PSP library making the purchase of a new console for a single game absurd, it was the clunky controls that turned me off from the franchise. Ironic considering where I did actually start playing. I remember really liking the idea at the time of fighting huge, vicious monsters as a frail human, but the awful feel of the awkward controls constantly at odds with the unfitting PSP in your hands overwhelmed the experience. The appropriate way to play this game was by clawing it, where your fingers had to constantly curl and try to hit all the buttons as well as use the analogs in a desperate attempt to have access to everything at once and develop immediate carpal tunnel. So my first impressions of this game were heinously dampened by the awful layout of the PSP buttons conflicting with the actual gameplay demanded by the player. Not that the PSP was bad or anything, but it sure wasn't the right fit for Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter on the PS2 played like an octopus on a pool table as well, so I'm not shocked that dumbfounding controls migrated with it to the PSP. An octopus on a pool table? Yeah, it was like a mess of limbs flying all around and hitting whatever, all around chaos. So this time, I actually can't replay this game for the video since Freedom Unite was only for the PSP, which my brother actually owned for some sports games. Weirdo. And since I heard so much about it, I bought a copy for him as a gift, which I occasionally played but never technically owned. Wait, so you can't even pretend to play it? We gotta do something or you're gonna look stupid! Here, take this. Or else I'll look stupid, huh? No, that's a PSP. Now play it. Jumping from PS2 to PSP, the gameplay is largely identical without the horrendous analog attack stick thing from the first game. Technically, Freedom Unite is a localized update to a sequel to an updated port of the first game to PSP. Whew, but with new areas, monsters, and story developed for it. Abandoning PS2 for PSP offered better opportunities for the game's heavy encouragement of multiplayer. It also gave them the opportunity to restructure the atrocious control scheme that felt as unwieldy as drawing calligraphy with your feet. However, Freedom Unite plays more like attempting open heart surgery on a live mouse. Yeah, I feel that. I wouldn't call trading one problem for another an improvement, but at least there's loads of new monsters to fight. And a new food buff system where you can select meals to eat before quests to affect your skills and stats. You've also got access to new feline companions to assist you in solo battles. Regardless of how inept they are in practice, sometimes the best thing you need in a pinch is a distraction, as well as a tremendous amount of other small but much needed balancing and quality of life improvements. But them hitboxes still jank. Yeah, Tigrex can bite you with his armpit and then sideswipe you for half your health as long as you two share the same zip code. It really says a lot about the original game when they added countless features and updates and the sequel is still a complete mess. It's a PS2 port, what were you expecting? New monster designs! Oh yeah, here's how I feel about all of them. Small monsters. Because felines weren't irritating enough, we made these little gremlins to poison you and put you to sleep. Hey, what if we just made the hunters fight particle effects? We transplanted a Bullfango's brain inside an enraged caribou in heat. For science. Meat with legs. Because palette swaps save on dev time and effort. Ooh, it's a venomous amphither! Am I the only one who knows what an amphither is? Hermit crab who thinks you're so cute he could just pinch your legs off. And here's his Edward Scissorhands cosplay. You know it's a Japanese game when you battle a literal fart monster. Saber-tooth abominable snow baboon. Large monsters. This guy became King Shakalaka by lighting his hair on fire. Now that's metal. Slightly bigger bug that makes for some of the most boring hunts you can possibly fathom. We had to be racially inclusive, so we hired a white velocidrome for HR. And we also got a Kutku with a hemoglobin disability for financing. Oh, and his cousin, the recently released convict, who just kind of shows up whenever he feels like it, makes the staff uncomfortable with his loudmouth temperament. Then of course there's Deborah, the diversity hire for customer service. Just because her skin's a different color doesn't make her any different than anybody else. Oh right, I forgot about Leonard. He showed up for training and we haven't seen him in years. I hear he was narcoleptic. Oh, that's Steven, who the boss accidentally called Stephanie during the interview because of all the pink, and he felt so bad he hired him to avoid coming off as a bigot. Oh, speaking of, here's his testy cousin Chris in accounting, who I'm scared to ask their gender since they always dress in this intimidatingly gaudy gold. Which brings me to Bill, who bickers with Steven whenever they pass by the water cooler, but I swear they're secretly sleeping together. The pissed off CEO who only shows up to collect his paycheck, yell at the union labor force, and hit on the secretary. And I'm kind of offended for Vladimir, the new cafeteria chef, considering he was only hired for being a red. And don't get me started on Antoine in security. Seriously, that guy used to be a Marine. Don't expect to see Joseph for much longer. He's just an intern for college credit, and you could bet your life powder the boss isn't dishing out the dough for a real job. Oh, and you better watch yourself around Jemima. Travis made the maple syrup joke last week, and he's still in the hospital. She's on 4 restraining orders and a never-ending premenstrual cycle. Is it clear that I'm not a fan of all the palette swap monsters yet? Cause I could keep this up all day! Tigersaurus Rex with the disposition of a 2-year-old on 10 shots of pixie sticks. And now he's a furry with knives on his arms. It's somebody's fetish. Tusked Turtle Man the size of a small country that bathes in literal lava. Change his face to a shovel and make his hitboxes even wider, and you've got this snowbound nightmare. You honestly thought for a second that there weren't any more of these meaningless palette swap monsters, didn't you? No, we're only halfway there! I'm struggling to comprehend how a fish the size of a school bus that swims through solid rock would even notice a puny human hitting it with a sword. Like his logic, his fight's kinda dumb. Angry hermit crab with a squirt gun. Anemic crab with a squirt gun. Kabutops. Shiny Kabutops. Dynamax Kabutops. A larger version of the most obnoxious small monster in the first game? Maybe the devs at Capcom are the real monsters. We couldn't get the unique bad breath status mechanic without passing on the obligatory fart jokes, could we? Top of the morning to this old fella cosplaying as an awful good wee leprechaun. Oh, the good jokes are getting mighty sour. Are we sucking diesel or is this poop monkey just acting a maggot? Somebody pissed in this polar bear's coke because this guy just went from 0 to absolutely ape shit. And this is his brown cousin. What? Shameless Dragon Ball ripoff with the most obnoxiously powerful punches and disproportionately galactic hitboxes in the entire series. And then somehow, contrary to the laws of nature, this rampaging Neanderthal found a way to surpass anger and reach new heights of carnal bloodlust. Majestic metal storm dragon that fights like an absolute sissy. And here's his brown cousin. Come on, man, give me a break and look at what I've got to work with here. Hey, look, a creative, unique new monster. I like this guy. It sure is a shame that he's so annoying to fight. Another glorified palette swap until 4 generations later where it'll finally get new attack variety. Until then, it's just an underwhelming model swap of this angry manticore thing with a hard-on for fiery explosions. Not sure how evolution favored such obscene overkill for this species' survival, but whatever. Because the Lao fight was so exciting the first time, we needed an excuse to grind it all over again. And all we did was make him black and white! If you ever wondered what would happen if you inflated an octopus with helium like a glove, then that's really weird. What's wrong with you? By the way, here's an alien air sac where his only weakness is cold air and thumbtacks. Though Fatalis is still amazing, it looks like the best way to turn cool, unique Elder Dragons into a grind is with meaningless color palette swaps. Unless Grandpa Static Beard has anything to say about it. Wow, that was a lot of monsters. Don't be stupid, most of them are palette swaps. Doesn't Rathalos look really good in blue? Your hunter is traveling along a snowy mountain where a fierce Tigrex pounces on them, causing them to tumble down a ravine, where they're nursed back to full fighting fervor by the residents of the snowy Pokey village in order to seek revenge on the tyrant on the cliffs above. You carelessly wandered into a wild carnivore's territory, and after it did what any wild animal will do, you didn't take your fortune as a lesson and move on with your life, but instead you decided to hunt it down and kill it? Well, yeah. And you call that a story? Hey, Tigrex is scary and we should totally kill it. Mother Goose tells more compelling plots than that. Monster bad scare. Bomb go kill hard. Hey, the music is at least a step up from last time. And last time the soundtrack was the best part of the game, which is not saying much. There's so many good monster exclusive themes like Nargacugas, Chameleoses, and Tigrexes that I never tire of listening to them as I hunt, and I certainly appreciate the variety. At least when grinding out that 18th Kushala Deora to get that one gem you can't find, it won't be the music that gets on your nerves. Yeah. Okay, so I know basically nobody is gonna go back and play this anymore with all the better modern options available nowadays. That's all we need to say, why not just leave it at that? But look how much good it did for the series! Look how much content it added! 2 words, carpal tunnel. Yeah, never mind. The positive gamer in me gives Monster Hunter Freedom Unite a burnt 4 out of 10, which is surprisingly lower than I gave the first game. Yes, it's got way more features and monsters, but that awful control scheme just keeps me from having any fun with it for more than 5 minutes a hospital visit. If I wanted old school jank, at least the original was funnier. The critical gamer in me, however, gives Monster Hunter Freedom Unite a well done 7 out of 10, which is substantially higher than I gave the first game. As a sequel, it admirably dove forward, overcoming many, yet not all, of the heinous sins of the original, albeit with a glorified port. But what do you think? Tell us how your positive and critical sides rate Monster Hunter Freedom Unite in the comments below. But if you're gonna try and convince me that changing a monster from red to blue counts as adding exciting new content, then you're just playing with yourself. Because that's half the game! Anybody want to bite of my PSP?
"'Twas the night before Christmas, on playing with myself, Bomb's decorating his figures and game crap on his shelf. But Hamster, however, is feeling his age. As his Joy-Cons start drifting, they fill him with rage.
Who said that?
He snapped at the voice with no name.
It's the spirit of Christmas,
said Bomb.
It brought our next game. Can't we get one day off?
Hamster moaned, unwilling to hear it.
Don't worry, I'm sure that it's brimming with holiday spirit.
Indeed, the voice had the jolliest of games to review, the delightfully festive Bayonetta 2.
What? Oh yeah, Santa was in that game. That was just Rodan and Acosta. Shut your damn dirty mouth, Santa denier. That's not what I... Ugh, another freaking sacrilegious slap in the face for a Christmas special? Shut your damn dirty mouth. Bayonetta 2 has legit angels that you brutally murder in outrageously crazy and questionably erotic torture attacks? Merry goddamn Christmas, faithless heathens. After Bayo 1, I had my expectations dropped by quite a bit, but man, I was in for a shock with how much of a step up 2 was from the first game. Another Christmas special down the crapper. You're definitely on the naughty list this year. Naughty is right. Oh my god. Hurry up with that coal, fat man, before the fire burns out. Let me start off by saying that pretty much everything about Bayo 1 got cleaned up in a big way. The controls, the combos, the difficulty, pacing, unlockables, abilities, and level design all feel like they've had loads of time and attention bringing them up to a higher quality standard. There's also plenty of new techniques and torture finishing attacks, even more comically devastating than last time. Santa definitely wouldn't approve. Well, I don't know, I bet he's one of those isolated horny fat dudes who'd stop ruining Christmas! Anyway, the hack and slash combat alongside the puzzle solving 3D platforming just feels really refined this time. To the extent that it makes the first game feel like the proof of concept, and this installment is the real deal. Yeah, I really liked the extra challenge rooms and goodies you could collect, making it feel like I found real, meaningful, and customizable rewards for going the extra mile by exploring and kicking some extra butt. There's also far more roller coaster action set pieces this time around, which help add tons of extra variety to the gameplay, surfing up whirlpools, riding on speeding jets, while keeping the combat familiar and engaging. It's like jumping from Uncharted 1 to 2. They figured out what worked with the original and really nailed it on executing the thematic, destructible set pieces for even more incredible scenes. Yeah, and that extra polish makes me feel good enough about the gameplay that I'm actually compelled to go back and platinum trophy each chapter. Oh wow, did you? Hell no, ain't nobody got time for that. Unlike the original, which released multi-platform on PS3 and Xbox 360, Bayo 2 launched exclusively for the Wii U after a licensing deal with Nintendo. Lucky for us though, Santa brought us the Switch port instead. His elves probably thought a Wii U was just the sound you heard when the ambulance comes to pick up Nintendo's broken ambitions! I bring this up because it's clear that this game wasn't exactly designed for Joy-Cons. But frankly, screw the Wii U. More like we are IP! Alright, that's enough. Wait, so how do the graphics actually hold up? Pretty well! The game aged out of the brown filters and into full HD quite nicely. Could have done without those stupid still frame cutscenes though. I also want to point out that it definitely found its own visual style with this installment, as I wasn't ever confused of whether the game was being cheekily over-the-top comical or dead serious anymore. So which is it? It's definitely all a joke. I think. I mean, at least I found it hilarious. And Bayonetta's actually supposed to be sexy? I mean, just look at cosplayers trying to get Bayonetta's look, and you'll see what I mean by how awkward her lanky spider body is. Honestly, I didn't notice nearly as much this time. Maybe it's better mocapping or something, but I didn't find her nearly as unsettling. Was it the haircut? No, it's not the haircut. Oh my god, is she cosplaying as Samus? Now that's a woman after my heart! This game literally starts with Bayonetta Christmas shopping. Hold the phone. This is a Christmas game? And you thought this Rodin picture was fake. Oh my god, this really is a Christmas game. Just like how Die Hard is a Christmas movie. Anyway, after the complete absurdity that was the last game, that ended in killing God in an uncomfortably long dance number, yeah, so now Bayo's holiday shopping gets interrupted by a whirlwind adventure involving slaying both the divine and demonic forces of heaven and hell after her sorta kinda not really witch friend Jean gets her soul stolen by Gamora after it breaks loose from Bayo's control. So describing the story here is gonna sound about as nuts as last time, so we're not gonna go much more in depth than that. And spoilers suck. But honestly, I can't describe what happened without sounding like a maniac. This is the sequel, but it's also a prequel. Yeah, thought those time loop shenanigans were redonkulous last time? Yeah, you're basically trying to help this snobby amnesiac get to the mystical mountain of Fimbulventer, the gateway to heaven and hell, while rescuing Jean from the grip of death. This ends up leading to some absurd timey-wimey nonsense before ultimately killing who'd we kill last time? God. Okay, super God. I love that you fight angels and demons this time. That alone makes the game feel like its visual and enemy variety has doubled, even though the story is technically shorter than one's. It's also a lot funnier than one, and has better action set pieces than one. It's just flat out better than one, and an undeniable Christmas game. How's this for an Umbran climax, Kris Kringle? I don't know how to put this. I really like the music while playing the game. Yeah, but it's not exactly the best for downloaded playlists. It's great in context, but something about it sounds really samey when you just listen to it outside the game. Like trying to find memorable tracks for background music for a review video, perhaps? Yeah, I mean, I bet that would suck. Christmas game. This is a game about a 9-foot cougar monkey witch shooting and slicing up angels and demons in endless tortures and over-the-top sexual exploitation. Did I mention that it was heavily implied that Rodan isn't just dressing up? Don't say it. But is in fact, there's no way, the one and only, you wrap up that mouth with a ribbon, Santa Claus. Ow!
Would you know what today is? My kids got cookies baked for me at home. They're waiting for me. And I still gotta play Santa tonight!
Let the real Santa take care of the presents. Now let's go!
You just can't accept that Santa is a 10-foot demon hunting black market weapons dealer for the gates of hell. I take it back, that sounds amazing. The positive gamer in me gives Bayonetta 2 an erect 8 out of 10. I'm not really into many hack and slash action games, but honestly, this might be the best one I have played so far. I'll give it my high recommendation whether or not you've managed to get your hands on the original. The critical gamer in me gives Bayonetta 2 a climactic 9 out of 10. This is a tremendous step up from the original, and even coming from someone who doesn't even play these games often, I can still recognize that Platinum games are certainly champions of the genre, and I'll certainly be keeping my eye on the long-awaited Bayonetta 3. But what do you think? Tell us how your positive and critical sides rate Bayonetta 2 in the comments below. But if you need help finding a game to get you into the holiday spirit, no! It's a Christmas game! We're on the naughty list for sure!
There's only one way to ring in the new year. Let's dance, boys!
And if you want to deny it, then you're just playing with yourself. Okay, so what have we not reviewed in a while? Zelda. But it's sequel season! Zelda 2? Oh, come on! It's a 2. Anything but that one! Does Majora's Mask count? Not a 2. Have mercy! I can't believe we're reviewing this before the original. You played it before the original? After Link to the Past, I played the GameCube 4-pack promo disc with the 2 NES games and 2 N64 games, and for some reason, something compelled my prepubescent mind to play Zelda 2 for NES first. Yeah, and how'd that go? It was miserable, yet intriguingly quirky, but cryptically brutal. It's such a fascinating piece of trash. So it's gonna be one of those reviews, huh? Just like Zelda 2, this won't be fun. Ouch. God, where do we even start? How about the fact that Zelda is no longer top-down, but instead a side-scrolling action RPG? Yeah, so back in the late 80s, video game genres weren't really a thing. So making sequels were more about coming up with new ideas to use the same hardware limitations and try and provide another experience in the same general theme as the last installment. Instead of finding tools and weapons like the boomerang, instead Link finds wise men to teach him magic spells that, aside from accessing his new magic meter, can allow him various combat and traversal benefits like shield, jump, fire, thunder, and fairy. Oh, cool, so you can heal yourself. No, that's life. Fairy transforms you into a fairy so you can fly. Okay. However, you do find some traditional items like the raft, candle, and boots. However, they're primarily for accessing new environments and generally don't get used in combat. And combat is all about using the world's dinkiest butter knife to poke monsters with until they explode. On top of that, you've also got to keep an eye out for incoming projectiles and block them with your shield high and low, left and right. Some segments get so hectic, it's like playing DDR just trying to survive the bullet hell onslaught. The reason you want to defeat enemies is to gain experience points that you will spend on either life, magic, or attack power buffs. Though this system has since been abandoned, I really like the idea of turning experience into an active skill tree, especially in an action platformer, and they pulled it off on the NES. You can also find point bags and hearts to further strengthen Link, which you'll desperately need as this game isn't taking any prisoners. Yeah, it's a definite guide game if I ever saw one. A lot of the time, you'll just get lost finding the next spell or tool to progress, aside from being constantly challenged by random monster battles. And that's another thing. You actually do get to explore a top-down open world. However, after walking for a little bit, some random monsters will appear and try to cross your path, forcing you into a 2D action segment where you'll need to fight your way to safety. And sometimes these segments are scripted to occur on particular tiles of the map, making some areas like Death Mountain a nightmare. At least you can discover towns, which are safe havens for Link to gather hints and even heal by sleeping with the local prostitutes, and healing his magic by sleeping with their grandmothers. Even Zelda gets a piece of the action when you beat the game. There sure is a lot of sex and death in this Nintendo game for kids, spreading them Hyrule herpes and getting it on like Donkey Kong. Considering we're still on the NES, you've got to admit this system is handling all the chaos on screen quite nicely with some decent sprite work and animations. Still don't like the color palette though. Color restrictions were another NES limitation. But it's actually really interesting if you want to learn how the internal board works. I'll take your word for it. Oh, look, a story this time. There was a story in the last one, you just had to read the manual. Don't care. So this time in a rare direct sequel, Link is being hounded by Ganon's minions, who aim to resurrect the Dark Lord Pig Sorcerer by performing a dark ritual requiring the blood of the green-clad hero who slew him. Yeah, the bad guys in this Nintendo game are out to murder you, to drain your blood, and resurrect an evil wizard. Dude. Wait, so where does Zelda fit into all of this? I mean, it's called Zelda. Oh, she's right there. Sleeping? Yeah, as we've clearly established, Link is a one-night stand kind of guy, so he's up and leaving the princess with nothing but cab fare and a broken heart. Okay, what's really happening? Fine, so apparently Princess Zelda has been put under a mysterious spell and has fallen into a deep sleep that only Link can save her from by collecting 6 crystals from Hyrule's 6 palaces, allowing him access into the Great Temple to obtain the Triforce of Courage and reversing the spell's power. Okay, now that makes more sense. But that's not the Zelda from the first game, this is a different one. What? You shouldn't have asked. Is one Zelda not enough? Link won't be stopped until he has an entire Zelda harem. Half this game's music just annoys me for some reason. But half of it is really some outstanding work like the palace and Great Temple themes. But the village and indoor themes just suck. Okay, at least it has more than 3 tracks of music like the last game. Get your standards in check. I'm a needy boy. I can't possibly overstate how save states and rewind transform this otherwise miserable experience into a playable game. If you've got NSO or an NES Classic, you should at least give this game a whirl. The first game intended to use the series title, A Hyrule Fantasy, which immediately got dropped for The Legend of Zelda, which its immediate sequel also immediately dropped in favor of being simply Zelda. I guess Zelda 3 Link to the Past wouldn't have happened were it not for all the experimentation and innovations from Zelda 2. Hold on. Link to the Past is the 3rd Zelda, but it is not Zelda 3, neither officially in print nor in the make-believe timeline. But there was early SNES promo box art that clearly titled the game Zelda 3, which it is not called anywhere in the game nor on its packaging when it did actually release. This isn't like Metroid where numbers are clearly in the game. So what you're saying is, after all this time, yes, we could still get Zelda 3. Metroid 5 happened. How about Zelda finally get its 3rd game, Nintendo? I'm waiting. The positive gamer in me. Give Zelda 2 Adventure of Link a comatose 3 out of 10. This game is brutally hard, a jarring departure from its predecessor with hit or miss music and visual flair, that I just can't find myself to have a good enough time playing it to recommend it for any fans of the series. The critical gamer in me honestly thinks Zelda 2 Adventure of Link deserves a strong 7 out of 10 for its incredible innovations that helped define the series to come by freely experimenting with possibilities without even remotely worrying about rehashed formulation, a trend we are all far too familiar with today. Opposite scores again? Really? Hey, I beat this game, and I think it gets a lot of undeserved crap. My opinion matters, but what do you think? Tell us how your positive and critical sides rate Zelda 2 Adventure of Link in the comments below. But if you're hating on a retro game just because the internet tells you to, then you're just playing with yourself. What's going on?
Hey, Hamster.
Yes, Bomb?
Get this, so I just got back from GameStop, and the guy at the register was totally giving me the look.
The look? What look?
The look, Hamster! The look.
I don't follow. I think he's into me, Hamster.
Oh, the sparks were flying like it was Toho Project set to lunatic.
No, it wasn't.
He even asked for my phone number.
That's his job. And what do you care? You're not even gay!
So, can't the guy just enjoy the small satisfaction of being admired?
No, that's not at all weird.
You think so?
No, it's definitely weird.
Come on, you just gotta take what you can get. You gotta enjoy life and just be positive.
And everything's great for you because you're under the delusion that the GameStop guy was hitting on you?
No, it's a state of mind. It's a lifestyle, Hamster.
Being gay's not a choice.
That is not what... No. I'm gonna get you to understand.
Do I want to understand?
See, Dr. Bomb is prescribing you Finding Paradise.
To the Moon 2? If that's what we're playing, then what's with all the voices in my head? Wait, are we already inside of another simulation?
Oh, that? No, that's just my new soundboard.
I don't need people to tell me when to laugh.
Did you know that these old stock recordings were made so long ago that none of the people in them are even alive today? Meaning that you're laughing along to the voices of dead people? Oh, what do you care? You're dead!
How do you even make a sequel to the Moon? By following the doctors Neil and Eva to their next patient, of course. But I loved To the Moon for Johnny and River. And you'll learn to love their new patient, Colin, all the same.
Okay, fair, but...
Huh, it's GameStop.
Yeah, I kinda gave them your number.
Hello?
Hey there, big guy. It's Keith from GameStop. Just wanted to get the details on how you'd like to get this package delivered, if you know what I mean.
I told you!
Would you prefer it in the front or the back door?
The exact same as last time. Hold on! The Memento puzzles are a lot better designed this time, and there's occasionally some short gameplay shifting diversions where the plot or jokes demand it. Yeah, but it's still using the exact same RPG Maker style you're familiar with from last time. Hey, last time you asked for better gameplay, and this one delivered on that. Marginally. Yeah, I'm reaching here. Exactly the same as last time. Yeah, I got nothing. Still looks nice though. considering how discussing too much of the story would spoil the entire point of the game, I'm gonna do something a little different this time and find a way to talk about the story without actually talking about the story. You what? Anyway, if you enjoyed To the Moon, then you already know what you're in for with its sequel. It's very much on par with the quality storytelling of the original, and this time exploring the life of Colin through the use of advanced devices allowing these doctors to explore his memories in order to grant his cryptic dying wish before he dies. So if you were dying and given the ability to change any aspect of your memories and alter your life story, what would you choose to change? Your luck, your career, or maybe your lifestyle? Nah, I'm good. Now, come on, you can't be serious. I've been digging through your memories this entire time, and I knew it. We are in a simulation.
Well, a little.
How can you be in a simulation? A little. Look, you're dying right now. No, I'm fine. No, you're not. This is a memory from long ago. Right now, you're actually in the future dying, and I'm trying to fulfill your cryptic dying wish before you go, you stubborn old coot. I already told you I'm fine. Your life's memories sure don't look that way. Where do I even start? From a young age, you were severely bullied by practically everyone you knew at school and in your neighborhood at home. Even your parents physically and psychologically abused you on a daily basis, constantly disappointed in you for not being like everybody else. Your mom would even threaten to kill you or send you away, and on several occasions admitted that even having you was an accident and a mistake. And what few friends you had turned on you and turned into bullies themselves, and even through high school, there was never a week that went without broken glasses, stolen books, and bloody clothes. So to try and escape it all, you hid yourself away and played video games wherever you could, starting up a YouTube channel in 2007. You felt another side of you come alive back then, but it wouldn't be long before it was all taken away from you. Turns out that you fell in love with a girl who, as it turns out, not only didn't love you back, but actually encouraged you to commit suicide. Can you stop? I'm making a point, and I'm not done yet. You stopped making videos and did everything you could to find people who did care about you and change your mind on the whole situation. And that's when you met Kim. You started making videos again and learned to have fun again. She had her own horrible problems at home, but you both helped each other to find new ways to keep going. From there, you went on to graduate college and even get your master's, but your job after job situation kind of fell apart for various reasons and everything continued to go wrong. However, Kim always stuck by your side. She supported you no matter what and even encouraged you to get help for severe clinical depression and finally get diagnosed with autism when you were 28 years old. Turns out that the reason you never had friends, were constantly bullied at school, abused at home, denied jobs, and unfairly treated your entire life was due to a mental disability that everyone but you had the ability to notice, had they even paid attention or cared. And where are you going with this? Well, that's just it. And I don't understand. Huh? Your life sucked! You're a prime candidate for suicide, Sigmund Corps. But you wouldn't even let me help you. Nope. I don't want your lies in my head. Besides, I won't fix anything. I'm good. You know, Hamster, you've probably already figured it out by now, but you're not real, aren't you? No. You're the personification of me when I was happy, playing games in my own world away from everybody who hated me, aren't you? You know, it was a lot of work trying to keep you alive all these years, you cynical sourpuss. But if it wasn't me and it wasn't even Kim, then what kept you going? Yeah, that was somebody else. But who? Though I definitely needed you and Kim to get me there, I knew I had to hang on because there had to be a greater purpose to it all. It couldn't all be pointless. I don't understand. I knew I had to meet somebody. I can't protect you forever, you know. Yeah. And I think I'm finally okay with that. You think this somebody can do it? Of course. I'd sooner relive my entire catastrophic life all over again than live a seemingly perfect one where they aren't in it. And that's why I'm not letting you touch my memories. Can I meet them before I go? Yeah. Her name's Clover.
I never stood up very tall. I think my voice was fairly small. But there were times I'd want to shout, though my thoughts weren't sorted out. So I'd stumble and I'd fall. fall. I learned to fly because of you. So if you left, I could go too. And everything you saw in me, that's what I wanted to be. Did I make it after all the grass on the other side? Is it only greener in my mind? I'd still want it the same, because trading my yesterday is to wish my life away. As we dream and as we grow, we have to learn to let things go. But let the wonder never fade, though we've turned 10,000 pages, flying high or stuck below. I've searched for meaning amidst doubt. I finally figured that part out. And all the stories inside me feels like I'm bursting at the seams. And you're here after all the grass on the other side. Is it only greener in my mind? I'd still want it the same, because trading my yesterday is to wish my life away.
Goodbye, Bomb. I'm gonna miss you. And that's the story of Finding Paradise without spoiling anything from Finding Paradise. Wait, what? Man, you two did really great. Really nailed the part.
I'll kill you.
You can't get rid of me. You're stuck with me forever. Well, that makes two of us. Oh, the music is absolutely beautiful once again. And keep in mind, Ken Gao composed all the music himself on top of writing the entire script, with Laura Shigihara returning to perform another vocal track, Wish My Life Away. And honestly, I think this one's a lot better than her last song, Everything's Alright, which was also great. Great music all around. Kim and I actually played To the Moon and Finding Paradise's soundtracks for Clover for her first couple months of naps and car rides. Good for baby, good for you. To the Moon again! And that's all the reason you need to play it. There's also a short prequel game to Finding Paradise called A Bird's Story, which I also recommend playing before the main game, as it helps to establish on the main plot and provides a nice introduction to Colin in a completely wordless narrative. It's also like $1. So take your excuses somewhere else, they're no good here, chum. The positive gamer in me gives the magnificent Finding Paradise a glowing 9 out of 10. Following up To the Moon seemed impossible, but the talented team at Freebird Games did it with yet another spectacular story about accepting your life's mistakes, love, and paper airplanes. The critical gamer in me finds Finding Paradise to be great enough to be deserving of the pristine 10 out of 10. Though I may have more personal bias towards To the Moon, I have to admit that Finding Paradise has found footing in well-crafted storytelling, fleshing out its fascinating universe. But what do you think? Tell us how your positive and critical sides rate Finding Paradise in the comments below. But if you can't get over the wrongs of the past to appreciate the future, then you're just playing with yourself. You wanted to see me, sir? Sit down. What is this? Oh, that's our sequel to Xenoblade Chronicles for the Nintendo Switch. I know that! But then why'd you— What happened? Is there something troubling you lately? After your first review, I didn't think we'd have to have this discussion ever again. And I know you're talented. You are a whole thing. You are better than this. So I will ask you again. What is this? Well, I wanted to try out some new ideas. Like an overly anime and shamelessly sexualized art style? What? I like titties. And who's this obnoxious kid with the painfully fake accent voicing your main character? Oh yeah, that's the maintenance guy's nephew. It's his first time doing voices. Figured he'd be cheap. Isn't he great? No, he makes me want to stick my head in a wood chipper. Now, what happened to your sense of creative, compelling storytelling? Like characters and motivations, you know, the plot? Oh, right, I knew I forgot to add something. But instead you added mobile game real-time based grindy missions and a full-blown mandatory gotcha system? Come on now, that's what all the little twerps these days are playing. Nobody is into pointless waiting and progression tied to RNG. Nobody! But our focus group said that our last game needed some more, what was the word? Waifus. So we just Googled that and went from there. Meaning you compromised pretty much everything else, yeah. Everything that made Xenoblade Chronicles good to begin with. Remember what got you into my office last time? Xenosaga 2. And what did we learn? Stop throwing away what works for stupid mechanics that don't. Yes. And how did Xenosaga 3 turn out? Oh yeah, that one was awesome! Because you went back to what worked well with the original and refined and focused it into an all-around better game experience. Right, I remember that. Then why are you in my office again? Well, I thought I'd try out this new waifu thing and— No, just get out of my sight. And I better not see you in here again come Xenoblade 3. Quit hanging around the wrong crowd and get your life in order! Ugh. It's the ones with promise that disappoint you the most. You're better than this! The original Xenoblade is easily one of my favorite games for the Wii, but I didn't end up playing its sequel until many years later. I mean, first off, the art style was— and the new voice cast. But little did I realize when I'd finally play it, I'd discover how much more there was to make me feel so utterly— Okay, so much to talk about here. So let's start with the basics for a sec. You'll begin, like most RPGs, by gathering a small party to travel and battle alongside while journeying across multiple living flying titans, unlike the two from the last game. This by no means implies the game is bigger or even grander than before. If anything, it feels significantly less so, as the many titans are all so samey with forgettable names that none of them even hold a candle to the ridiculously colossal Bionis, where exploring a large area felt even more imposing when you'd stop and realize that you're just on the knee. Yeah, it really fed the imagination of this immense scale, whereas the current multi-titan setup actively destroys this effect by segmenting the areas into far less impressive biomes. It also makes fast traveling frustratingly confusing with horrible UI and vague fantasy name area descriptions, and then when it comes to the actual combat, it's also very eerily familiar, yet totally lost all of its zing. You can still have your party break, topple, launch, and smash enemies for extra damage, but it feels a lot more finicky and up to chance to pull off this time. Aside from the fact that they completely redesigned the perfectly functional art system for no good reason. Elemental attacks are now a big deal, with the game encouraging combos for temporary status effects, adding colored balls around the enemies so you can exploit and change their elemental weaknesses, and shatter the glowing balls with opposing elemental bursts in a chain attack to get extra turns in order to— Anybody else getting some serious Xenosaga 2 zone-breaking convolution vibes here? No? Just me? Honestly, it's not the worst system in the world once you figure it out. It's just grossly based on luck in several frustrating battles. But I'd have enjoyed and understood it a lot better had the in-game tutorials actually made any sense. Those constant tutorials won't stop coming even when you're in the final chapter. And they're all written like an enthusiastic grade schooler trying to teach you modern Yu-Gi-Oh! It's full of childlike self-flattery and rarely explains bits of crucial information that describe the cumbersome user interface and battle structure. But how do you even access various elements for this new system, you ask? With the new Blade system. While adventuring, you'll acquire core crystals that you can resonate with your party members, except Tora because he's not special, which awakens a unique living character called a Blade that the playable character will swap between and fight alongside for various effects in battles and the overworld. Or well, that can happen. Very rarely. The vast majority of the time, you'll instead awaken a junk common blade that is hilariously outclassed by the unique ones, and looks like a washed out bootleg Power Ranger. These things suck, and you'll go through literal hundreds of these worthless recruits searching for the real ones. Once awakened, you cannot trade blades between party members without rare limited items, so if your attacker gets a great healer, or if your main fire user gets yet another fire, tough. Oh nice, my strength, utility, and strategy potential are all determined by RNG. Considering how it's an RPG and that's the entire point of the game, that kind of pisses me off a little bit! So you can also send your army of crap common blades on merc missions, which are basically mobile game style, wait in real time, do nothing, time wasting missions to grind for various imperceptible effects and meager experience, cash, and goodies. I hate this real-time waiting crap in full-priced games, and it doesn't help that deploying merc missions sucks out loud to begin with, as there is no auto-select button, forcing you to weed through heaps of spreadsheets and search out specific traits, types, and abilities that you may or may not even have the credentials to fulfill. It doesn't even have the courtesy to save you all the time of flipping through all 200 Mook's ability pages when it's all for nothing! I haven't even mentioned the worst part about Blades. They're all acquired completely randomly via the mobile game style gacha system. Thank the architect they didn't charge real money for rare and legendary core crystals, or else we'd be straight up gambling with loot crates. Not only that, but your odds of finding different characters changes as you find others, and generally for the worse. I didn't find a single rare blade in my last 60 or so hours of my game, resonating countless common, dozens of rare, and even several legendary core crystals, all juiced up with max boosters to raise my chances for a new blade, and I got nothing. Not one. Does this sound fun? Because remember, this process is determining your team's loadout, and we're still not done with Blades. I am. You'll also encounter roadblocks in both the main campaign as well as side quests that will impede your progress until the gacha gods smile upon you and bless you with the right ability requirements in order to pass. And now tell me, what absolute buffoon thought that was a good idea? And even then, you'll need to manually dig through all of your blades, find and equip the right ones to your party in order to pass, and then immediately dequip them all to your preferred blades until the next hurdle blocks your way. This can't be an oversight, right? It seriously feels like this game was deliberately designed to waste your time. Anyway, there's a lot of other complicated mechanics like AUX cores, favorite foods, providence levels, skill trees, arts ability levels, blade side quests, that they're all so in-depth that they all require you to absorb full-blown wiki pages to even track and understand. I tried so hard to like this game. I really did. But man, that's a lot of skeletons it was hiding in the closet. Generic gray skeletons with fire mastery and mineralogy. Ugh, this blade system was such an enormous mistake. Yeah, and it also kind of weirds me out collecting living, sentient, human-like characters like Pokemon and then forcing them to do battle in a creepy, master, subservient nature. It's like a Fee from Skyward Sword was an entire army and... Well, at a base level, this game generally looks like an HD Xenoblade Chronicles 1, but but without most of the grand environmental color palettes. And instead we got intensely anime clashing character designs. Yeah, so the blades were all designed by different artists for some reason, and inevitably this caused them all to lack any consistent central aesthetic. It looks like some high schooler's sketchbook after getting passed around the anime club, contributing to a moe doujinshi with their only inspirations coming from high fantasy hentai and those awful how to draw manga books. Well, was that enough Japan for one sentence? While eating ramen and pocky. I'm not so much bothered by the wild inconsistency as I am the generally uncomfortable designs. And it's not just the outrageously slutty women either. It's the guys too. I mean, can someone explain to me why Rex is wearing freaking assless chaps? Please? Don't get me started on the women, especially how you practically romance all of them with side story quests. And you thought I was kidding with the prioritizing waifus thing earlier, didn't you? I still like their mech designs, which you see for all of 1% of the game. Whereas you'll be staring down Mithra's Grand Canyon of cleavage and listening to Pyra's yoga butt cheeks clapping in the wind for the rest of it. And that's another thing. Why doesn't it seem like anyone in this universe is even remotely fazed by these half-naked cosplaying strippers that they're talking to as if their attire is completely normal? How about the fact that their ages range from barely legal to freaking children? Being attracted to children isn't a fetish, it makes you a pedophile. Okay, now, this is the part that I was most excited about over anything else. This is what was gonna redeem this awkward, shameless, teenage wet dream, right? Right? Xenoblade 1's story is surprisingly deep, tricking the player into believing it's a simple revenge plot that slowly dives into various character studies, with several shocking plot twists and critical character-defining moments, throwing the entire story on its head. So it's safe to assume that Xenoblade 2's story would at the very least— No. Just no. This is the most piss-about, do-nothing story I have ever encountered. My problem isn't just that nothing of note or consequence ever happens in the entirety of the story. I don't know, that alone renders all relatability, character potential, and immersion in the game completely inert. It's that not a single character has even a little bit of a defining motivation or ideals that are challenged or grow in any conceivable way. If you don't even have that, then what the heck do you have left? Grade school erotic fan fiction. You're joking, but that's actually not too far from the truth. I wasn't joking. Throughout the entire story, we get scenes with Rex and Pyra, or Mithra, that do nothing but attempt to add awkward sexual tension with sloppily written daydreamy dialogue layered in thick helpings of amateur cringe. It's like watching an aroused Playboy bunny housemaid hitting on a 12-year-old. This happens way more often than it ever should, and it doesn't even go anywhere. Another completely different character even flat out confesses that she loves Rex later on, which comes totally out of nowhere, by the way. And even that gets swept immediately under the rug and goes nowhere. They just forgot about it, as if it just never happened. Honestly, the majority of this story is just constant flattery for Rex from absolutely everybody, and for completely unremarkable reasons blown way out of proportion that we don't even have the privilege of seeing or validating for ourselves. Show us that our main character is the great person that you say he is, and stop just telling us. That's writing 101. Oh, Rex is so amazing and trustworthy and handsome and admirable, and he's such a good friend, and he'll never let you down, and he can do anything, and he makes me so wet. Oh, Rex, hold me. So who is this glorified messiah? Rex is just a common, musty junk salvager kid with no friends who does nothing of any real consequence other than be around important people that neurotically remind the player of how great he is. No kidding, we've already explained the majority of the story. But the rest of it is so outrageously bad that we just have to talk about it too. The story begins with Rex receiving a high-paying job out of nowhere that he is in no way cut out for from an obvious joke of a bad guy in order to help recover some mysterious thing from some abandoned wreckage. He's teamed up with the most obviously evil villains in history and a cat girl, because anime. The job obviously goes sour, but not before Rex discovers the dormant Pyra, apparently the object of the search efforts. Rex is suddenly backstabbed and would have died were it not for Pyra awakening, fusing her core crystal or something with Rex in order to save his life and bring him back with the two now permanently bonded, sharing in each other's life energy. Man, I cheered when Rex died. Like, I stood up and applauded. He's probably the most hateable main character I've ever had the displeasure of controlling. I also facepalmed when Pyra brought him back to life by, no joke, having Rex touch her chest. So apparently Pyra is the ultimate blade called an Aegis, and the two annihilate the obvious bad guys, team up with Catgirl, and set off on a lax journey to eventually climb the massive world tree and discover the architect, the creator of the world, because Pyra just kinda wants to. So because anime, the main protagonist just so happens to get handed ultimate power in the form of a subordinate half-naked swimsuit model, for absolutely no reason. And don't forget Gramps, his Titan friend that Rex basically treats like a mobile home, who gets downsized and reborn as a cute furry animal companion because anime. Oh my god, are we getting a filler bathhouse episode 2? That's actually a lot more tasteful than their normal clothes, honestly. So it's from here that the characters just kind of mosey around, helping people here and there, getting in and out of trouble, meeting new enemies and allies, and basically doing literally anything but advance the plot and go to the world tree. I guess our main quest isn't very important considering how the main characters couldn't even be bothered enough to care. And this is basically the entire game up until the end where they finally get a freaking move on and ascend the world tree. Sure, you swat the obvious bad guys upside the head every now and then, but nothing really comes of it. It's all the side quests, heart-to-hearts, and other stuff that all add up and grate on you with how uninspired they all are. I swear, one quest had me track down a woman's lazy husband and straight up pay him my own money out of my pocket so that he would go home and fix his own oven so his wife could cook. No joke, real quest. I'm also not finding any reason to care about this generic cast of villains either. They're all just kinda evil for the sake of being evil and want to destroy everything just because that's what it said to do in the How to Be an Edgy Bad Guy handbook. Their awfully delivered corny dialogue sure didn't help either. So after 100 or so hours of distracted dilly-dallying, the group finally heads towards the world tree. And what do they do to justify all this complete and utter lack of meaningful story content? Is it worth the arduous journey of dicking around for over 100 hours? Well, here's your incoming spoiler warning and skip time, all you hairless hardcore otaku wankers! As for the rest of you who stopped caring a long time ago, they meet the architect, who turns out to be Klaus from Xenoblade 1, who undeniably receives his power from a Zohar, taken straight from Xenogears and Xenosaga, and that's pretty cool. Kind of a shame that the best thing in the story could do was reference good games, but I digress. Turns out when Klaus created a new universe, he was somehow torn between his own and a new neighboring dimension. But he still held ultimate power in both somehow. And this is at best a fun reference, just kind of tying the games together since nothing actually comes of this. Because obvious villain number 2 found a giant mech that was kind of laying around and totally wants to go use it to hurt people and stuff. So you gotta fight it and kill him, because we needed an obligatory final boss at the end of this pointless excursion. After murdering that guy for the 3rd or 4th time now, I honestly forget at this point, the entire world tree begins to collapse, and blatantly ripping off the ending of Xenosaga, Pyra, who's blue now when fused with Mithra, just don't question it, does some self-sacrificial stay behind while the group escapes thing before the whole place goes kablooey. Gramps then suddenly turns back into a Titan trailer home for absolutely no reason other than for him to catch the falling party and fly away. But remember how Rex and Pyra were bonded, and if one felt pain or died, the other would as well? Well, the writers sure didn't, and in fact, they forgot about this plot device multiple times throughout the game. I remember Pyra trying to annihilate herself with a massive explosion to keep obvious bad guy number 3 from harming Rex in a hostage situation, even though it would kill them both outright. It's like the game just keeps making up the rules and either breaking them or forgetting about them immediately, filling the game with lazy plot holes like this. We even find out that Pyra only wanted to visit the architect to ask him to end her existence, which completely doesn't fit the way she's written in the slightest, considering she's written to be a comforting, shy waifu for all the lonely weebs. But still, if she really had this power to blow herself up the whole time, then what the heck did she need this creepy old man for? Seriously, all he does is just fart around in a massive isolated tower and sculpt his own personal fantasy world of waifus while humanity dies. What an old horny douchebag! But oh, I hear you say, at least a self-sacrificial ending is some sort of character development for Pyra. Well, we can't have that now, can we? Prepare to have any semblance of meaning to the entire plot subverted as Pyra and Mithra are both inexplicably brought back to life independently in a completely unexplained magical fairy dust happy ending sort of way during the end credits. That seriously pissed me off. I shouldn't have expected much or even cared anymore, but that completely destroyed any impact of their sacrifice carrying any weight whatsoever. And bringing them back doesn't even add anything to the story or its characters, other than having Rex fulfill his FFM fantasies, I guess. Now what pissed me off was the snub chapter titles, culminating with, and I kid you not, and thus boy met girl. As if this masturbatory piss-about plot packed to the brim with nothing but self-flattery and characters as undefined as cardboard cutouts could even be accidentally considered to be a romance in any conceivable way. If anything, I feel like they were trying to compensate for the lack of any effective romantic tension whatsoever by having Pyra and Mithra be so outrageously sexualized that any straight guy would be embarrassed around them. Rex should feel the same way once he hits puberty. There's also a tremendous amount of cutscenes throughout the game where they play this goofy cartoon music in what I can only assume are scenes that are supposed to be interpreted as amusing in some way. All I can tell you is that after all of its desperate attempts, this game wasn't even accidentally funny. The moments where you realize that the game is kind of taking place in the real human world post-apocalypse is kind of neat for what it's worth, but there's just no build-up or payoff to make it have any weighty impact. Like, you know, any plot twist from Xenoblade 1? The true travesty with this story is that it was clearly written for a bunch of pre-constructed characters first, who were all shoved together awkwardly into a plot where none of them were given the opportunity to grow or change. And thus, gamer met disappointment. Ugh. Normally this stuff is phenomenal, but okay, come on, this segment should be easy. They even have Yasunori Mitsuda returning from the previous Xeno games, making some really great music. He's the guy behind freaking Chrono Trigger. Music isn't what I'm concerned about here, even though I honestly found some tracks to be a little ear-grating. Don't miss the rotting trees for the forest. I'm not sure you used that correctly. It's the voice acting and sound mixing that are just hit or miss at best. Oh yeah, that. Crap, I forgot. I thought we'd have one segment where we didn't dump all over this game. Some voice actors are fine, but others desperately need to rethink their careers. They all have various forced and awkward accents that don't fit into a singular world in the way that the Xeno universe does. Now, if each province had different clans of subtly different accents like in The Witcher, I might buy it. But no, it's all just a case-by-case, everybody plays accent roulette grab bag of garbage. On top of that, your party members want to chit-chat and comment about every little insignificant thing to each other, continually repeating the same lines, but without any of the cool interdependent affinity levels like last time. One of the very first things I did in Chapter 1 was turn off their ability to speak outside of cutscenes. It was that bad. And the worst offender by a freaking light year is, you guessed it, Rex. His absolutely obnoxious voice with this incredibly thick pish-posh Manchester accent just makes me want to squeeze my hands around his tiny little neck and crush his accursed vocal cords like uncooked linguine noodles. That's a little extreme. He's just a bad voice actor. What sucks is that he's playing the main character, who's already lacking in reasons to find likable in any way. It's a new day, everyone. Oh, please don't. Chip, chip, cheerio. God save the Queen. No, man. No, I'm not doing this. No way. Oh, come on. It's what? It's at best inoffensive. Is that the best you can do? If you soaked up the vastly superior Xenoblade 1 on the Wii, or even the definitive edition on the Switch, then I guess it's something else you can play in the same series. Look, there are countless better RPGs to sink your time into on Switch than this absolute waste. There is also the massive DLC pack, Torn of the Golden Country, for maniacs who like throwing even more money away instead of accepting their poor judgment and purchasing decisions and moving on with their life. It's, at best, inoffensive. Ah! The positive gamer in me reluctantly reflects on my utter disdain for Xenoblade Chronicles 2 with a 2 out of 10. The awful gameplay, art style, story, and voice acting all pull down what should have been a Switch masterpiece into a miserable slog. The critical gamer in me is trying so hard to ignore my personal misgivings with Xenoblade Chronicles 2 to give it a fair 5 out of 10. Though it's carrying a lot of horrendous baggage, it's still built on the foundation of a great title, and structurally I see them canceling each other out, landing exactly in the middle of the road with a very hesitant average score. But what do you think? Tell us what your positive and critical sides think of Xenoblade Chronicles 2 in the comments below. I thought I was in for a great time, but ended up playing a miserable game so you all didn't have to. Forget this one and go play the first game. Because if you're delusional enough to pretend that this game's crimes against quality can be ignored, hey, my eyes are up here. And you're just playing with yourself. Hamster, we've been duped. What now? Apparently there are more heroes. I could have sworn we killed them all last time, but according to this, there apparently can be no more heroes. With 3 playable characters? They're all from the last game, meaning there were more heroes. No, we totally killed all of them. Travis, Shinobu, and Henry? Didn't we cut off Shinobu's arms? And I thought Henry and Travis honorably killed each other in battle. Ah, who cares? It's no more heroes! No more? How many more? Apparently a lot, considering we're rank 51 now. Well, that's a lot of catching up to do. And not very subtle on Suda51's part. That's a lot of heroes. Yeah, let's fix that. I wanted to play this game so badly, I pre-ordered it and took the day off work. You were the only one in the city who pre-ordered the game, and the guys at the register just laughed at you for it. What's up with that? Jerks like that just make me see red. Hey, I'm not judging you for playing Call of Duty while wearing your My Little Pony jammies in your mommy's basement. Let people like what they like. Yeah, no more. Is it weird if I say this feels like a by the books No More Heroes? Only because I just played 3 and no, we're not there yet. What I mean is that the game largely uses the first one as a formula to guide its core design framework, with some added touches here and there for variety. But this time you've got some crazy boss battles with all sorts of different situational combat mechanics to mix it up, like an awesome 2D fighting giant mech boss. As we mentioned, you do get to play as Shinobu and Henry, but it's only for short segments in the linear story, and you can't even select your character or anything. That's cool that you even get to. But in Henry's case, he's only playable during one boss battle, which is kind of a letdown. Travis also now has 2 swords that he can dual wield, as well as swap between his old equipment on the fly during battle. This is my favorite part of No More Heroes 2. Being able to swap swords in combat adds loads of personalization to fights as you manage your offensive options and maintain all your battery levels based on the situation. You'll need to, considering how this game will throw loads of enemies your way to hack and slash your way through to nearly Dynasty Warriors levels of absurdity. In that sense, the game is so much fun. But unfortunately, it comes with a few caveats. Yeah, so the overworld is gone. Like, completely gone. It's replaced by a simple map function that works just as a menu. Yes, the overworld felt a little barren before, but it was still fun blasting around and exploring Santa Destroy on a massive motorcycle. Axing it all together just makes the game feel even more linear than it already is. The side jobs are now these weird 8-bit mini-games, which is okay, I guess. I'm fine with the contrasting art styles, but none of them are actually any fun to play, however amusing they are. And most disappointing of all, even though you're starting at rank 51 instead of 11, there's actually the same number of bosses as last time, meaning the game isn't actually bigger in any way. Half of them were freaking cheerleaders that you just cut down in one fell swoop. And others get killed off camera and gags, and sure, it's funny, but it still just kind of feels disingenuous to claim that you'll be fighting 51 rank battles when there's no difference in length or boss counts. Wouldn't it suck if I told you that you've technically gotten the entire review of No More Heroes 2 and the rest of this video is just dead air? You thought I'd do it for a second, didn't you? Though I miss Travis's cell shade to black style, I still really love the look of this game. I appreciate that the new cast of characters all look like they fit perfectly into this absurdly bizarre, intense world. There's also a lot of UI changes, like how you build up an adrenaline gauge through a pixelated sleeping tiger thing, and how your battery is measured by... It's a penis with a smiley face that goes from flaccid to erect as you shake it back to full power. Oh yeah, and people still spew blood like exploding fire hydrants. Yep, everything checks out. Years after disappearing and fading into legend, Travis Touchdown returns to find himself plummeted all the way to rank 51st in Sylvia's UAA top assassination organization. Yeah, so even after getting scammed out of tons of money and being tricked into murdering countless people last time, he's still believing it's real. Turns out Travis's first side quest kill in No More Heroes 1, the CEO brothers from the food chain Pizza Butt have had a younger surviving brother, Jasper Bat, who seeks revenge on Travis by killing his only friend Bishop and throwing his decapitated head through Travis's motel window. Minor spoiler, but apparently Bishop's not actually dead. It was just a fake replica head and Bishop's death was staged. Not sure why though, considering how it makes no sense for Jasper to fake his death. Plus it just renders this already basic revenge plot totally pointless. Shut up. So apparently Travis is out to climb the ranks once again to reach #1 and take down Pizza Bat. Yeah, the name kind of got retconned for some reason. Couldn't have been for Pizza Hut copyright concerns, considering they basically changed the guy into a cartoon Batman. As if Batman was any better. But Cartoony is right. Not only is Jasper Bat's fight obscenely irritating, he's also a ridiculous cartoon character transforming into Bane and then a literal bucktooth blimp. Yeah, I love the rest of the bosses, and I get that Suda51 style is the bizarre, but this just kind of ruins the serious revenge tone the game was going for. Travis is all around a lot less snarky and a lot more angry because of the tone. The story is still shockingly wild and funny, just a little grislier than last time, but still somehow completely not taking itself seriously and uncannily retreading the same ground as before, in all its self-aware, offensively explicit, and unapologetically in-your-face style. It's just as awesome as last time, and with the original voice cast, but with a new theme for Naomi's Lab, which also didn't appear in the Switch release of the original, considering the rights holders of the song are a bunch of self-entitled, money-grubbing bigots. So they stubbornly claimed all monetization revenue and ad placement rights for our No More Heroes 1 review, even though they didn't have the right to do so on a video reviewing the content due to YouTube's protective regulations regarding reviews. And they got away with it too by feigning ignorance to English once I proved to them that they were legally in the wrong, and YouTube won't even listen to my claim without risking a strike against my channel, forcing me to give in and mute the song that I was praising. So if you were wondering why I was dancing to silence, that's why, racist, piss-gargling snobs. It's only fair that they get their comeuppance. So until they get disemboweled by wild bears, I'll give them what they wanted and redub over the entire segment. Yeah, you're not bitter. If you're seeking out hidden games on the Wii, making the best use of the controls, then look no further than the first game, and then play the sequel. It's really good. You'd honestly recommend this to anyone who hasn't played the original. This one has a peep show before each ranked match. Yeah, top that. The positive gamer in me ranks the deviant No More Heroes 2 with a stiff 8 out of 10. It's still a good time slashing up goons and colorful bad guys, but take the new awesome additions alongside the awkward omissions, and you've got yourself a darn good sequel that's not quite the original, however similar it may appear. The critical gamer in me, however, is a little more pleased than last time, giving No More Heroes 2 a strong 8 out of 10. The actual combat and all-around gameplay style is perfecting what the original set out to achieve, alongside all the style and flair that you've come to expect from the series. Kinda weird how I rated it 1 point lower and you 1 point higher than last time, and we ended up agreeing. Anyway, what do you think? Tell us how your positive and critical sides rate No More Heroes 2 in the comments below. Now, if that insufferable gatekeeping butt sneeze from GameStop is out there watching this, never pick on somebody for what games they like. They're just finding their own form of escapism from useless sacks of meat like you. Whereas, you're just playing with yourself.
Come on, come on. Hey, Hamster, do my clavicles look like they're harboring sinister intent? Wait, what are you doing?
Almost. Got it. I finally got that portal technology working.
And you're using it to
Reach the back of my PC.
Yeah, you could have effortlessly brought fresh water and food to starving countries, and eliminated the entire need for a shipping industry, or even completely revolutionized space travel. But instead,
Who cares about that stuff when I don't even have to stand up to swap my HDMI cords?
oh my god.
I remember playing Portal with a friend when it came out, and boy, I was immediately mesmerized with flying through portal puzzles and solving my way to the end of the game in just a few hours. Granted, by the end I wanted to vomit from nausea, but it was the good kind of vomit. And when the sequel rolled around, I played the solo as well as the co-op campaigns countless times, all while fighting back my unrelenting urge to spew chunks. I just wanted to upchuck a sprinkler of my juicy stomach acid affection. It gave me butterflies and dizzy eyes.
My insides were doing the esophagus slide.
All right, that's enough. So since Portal and Portal 2 are so similar, we decided to lump them both into one video. Plus, that gives us an excuse to talk about them during sequel season and all. And since Portal 3 will never happen, we might as well discuss the entire series at once. Portal is a first-person shooter where you solve physics-based puzzles and avoid deadly hazards to escape a dangerous facility by means of an experimental portal gun. The portal gun can open portals on designated flat white panels, connecting any two places with a controlled wormhole, allowing for a tremendous amount of puzzle variety. You'll be pressing weights on switches, vaulting around on launch pads, and utilizing your built-up momentum to outsmart the confined spaces and make it to the end of each floor alive. Aside from Portal 2 adding some new mechanics like light bridges, jump and acceleration gels, and tractor beams, it's also substantially longer than the experimental original. There's even boss battles at the ends with the violent AIs that are keeping you contained in the testing facilities guarding your freedom. You'll need to outsmart these supercomputers with all your knowledge and mastery of the portal gun in order to survive. The most satisfying thing about these deceptively simple puzzle games is the hypnotic zen mode you'll activate when everything begins to click and you really start thinking with portals. That is until you're dropped into a turret's line of fire and get turned into Swiss cheese. Cheese? No, this is all about that cake. Yeah, but I heard the cake is a lie.
But what if it's not, Hamster? What if it's not?
These games basically look identical, so once again we're gonna lump them together like lettuce and cabbage. Yeah. Yeah, so Portal 1 and 2 look great on their native PC, PS3, and Xbox 360. Graphically, they even do a great job of shaking up the visuals of simplistic white testing zones to grungy office spaces and mechanical factories. I especially appreciate how you distinguish between your left and right trigger portals with orange and blue rings. This helps you more easily comprehend and plan the literal ins and outs of your solutions. And I appreciate how the lead female character, Shell, isn't even remotely sexualized. She's like a completely average, relatable human being. Now why was that so hard, games industry? Oh, don't worry. I'm sure Rule 34 art exists online. Stop! What? Don't ruin her character. Hamtaro Futanari probably exists, but I'm not gonna check. Oh, Lord! But what if it does? No! Now it's gonna bother me! And finally, the games differ. In Portal 1, Shell awakens in the labyrinthian testing facility Aperture Science and is forced to solve endless puzzles devised by the sinister AI GLaDOS, whom Shell must outsmart, escape, and destroy in order to achieve her freedom. In Portal 2, Shell awakens from an artificially induced sleep after blacking out due to her explosive battle with GLaDOS. With the help of the comically bumbling AI core Wheatley, she once again sets out to escape the facility and destroy the rogue machines holding her prisoner. In Portal 2's co-op campaign peer review, the two androids Atlas and Peabody test their way deep into the forgotten caverns of Aperture in order to help the revived GLaDOS uncover a sinister prize with unsettling implications. Whereas the first game was more mysterious and coated with subtle lore, 2's length allows it to delve more deeply into the history and people behind Aperture Science, as well as how it all came crashing down, leaving no one but computers in charge of running endless human experiments. And it's hilarious! Seriously, this is one of the funniest series I've ever played. And that's on top of the fact that the actual story is really well crafted and engaging. It should be saying a lot that we don't want to spoil the story for a puzzle game of all things. We'd not only be ruining the plot, but the gags too. I'm resisting the urge to just quote Cave Johnson for the rest of this video so hard you have no idea. The soundtrack is absolutely incredible! They even gave it away for free online! Seriously, go download it. It's called Songs to Test By. Look it up. And the voice acting for GLaDOS, Cave Johnson, Wheatley, and the AI cores are all outstanding. GLaDOS even robotically sings in some expertly done end credit songs. The music also does this dynamic shifting to a more intense version of the same song thing when you find solutions or go careening through the air. It's so well done and satisfying. The music and vocals do a great job at going from creepy to comical to isolation and action so seamlessly it's just unreal. Even Shell's voice actor is awesome. Shell doesn't even have any. Then who's credited for voicing her? Okay, so she made some grunts for pain and stuff. Amazingly euphoric grunts, which I'm sure I could probably also find taken out of context. Stop!
This was a triumph.
Hey Hamster, did you notice that neither of us had a single complaint for Portal or Portal 2? I mean, the games are great for such a wide audience and are both incredibly well crafted from a critical standpoint, so yeah. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? If Portal 3 ever happens, it's gonna be in a VR Half-Life Alyx style and I'm gonna vomit out my eyeballs because by God, I'm gonna play it even if it's the last thing I do? No. Well, yeah, but no. You're not thinking. Oh yeah. Is this really happening? This might be happening. The positive gamer in me gives the quirky Portal an easy 10 out of 10. This incredible experimental puzzle shooter is unmatched in innovation, design, and raw enjoyment. The critical gamer in me finds Portal to be an undeniable 10 out of 10 experience. This brain-twisting mad scientist's joyride will only leave you feeling like a crafty daredevil itching for more. And more you'll get as the positive gamer in me rates Portal 2 with its own 10 out of 10. Both the single player and co-op campaigns are outstanding and well worth revisiting. So grab a friend or go it alone with your trusty companion cube on Steam, and more recently, the Switch. But the critical gamer in me has to step back and honestly give Portal 2 the 10 out of 10 it rightly deserves. 4 10 out of 10s in one video? Getting 2 perfect scores is rare enough, but 2 sets in one review? I had no idea that going into this video this is how it would turn out, but I had such a great time with these 2 critical masterpieces each time I played them that I couldn't find a single reason why they didn't both deserve that perfect set of 10 golden coins. Well, outside of the intense urge to vomit while playing it, but that's kind of a me problem. But what do you think? Tell us how your positive and critical sides rate Portal and Portal 2 in the comments below. But if you don't think Portal deserves all the praise it's been given over the years, then you're just playing with yourself.